Okay, so we've already, created a backdrop, brought in some lights, created a camera. We've applied materials to the backdrop and to the skull and hat, to our geometry there. We've brought in a dome light. We've adjusted our lights so that we get some pretty decent, pretty even lighting. All right, so far so good. That's looking very promising. All right, now it's time to do a couple of things. We're going to apply the smoothing algorithm to our geometry, as well as add our displacement maps to the geometry as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll show you how to apply the smoothing algorithm. So as we come in here, let's go to Panels, Perspective, Shot Cam, and I'm going to go ahead and just select the hat. And so this is how you get to the smoothing algorithm. You have to select the geometry, and then over here in the attribute editor, you'll see where we've named our material. So this is our Pixar surface material. Right next to it, you will see the polysurface shape node. All right, so this is a low-res polysurface. This is a low-res polysurface shape. All right, now you need to click on that. And then right here where it says attributes, all right, well, I want you to notice one thing. At the very bottom here, it says extra attributes. That's the very last thing it says right there, right? So if we come up here to attributes, go to RenderMan, and turn on subdiv scheme, just click on that, all right? You'll notice that now a new node has been added at the bottom right here. Now, we don't need to do anything here. It's already set to Catmull Clark. And if you, if you watched the Arnold rendering videos, it uses the same smoothing algorithm, the Catmull Clark algorithm. Okay, so once we apply that, let's close this up right here. Let's just take a look at our render. Okay, and here it is right here. Now you'll notice nothing, right? Remember, we have to come in here, right-click Camera, and refresh our render, and you'll see right away that that hat now has been smoothed out. All right, it's not faceted anymore. I mean, you can probably see it. It's taking it takes a little while to resolve. All right, but you can see that that now is smooth. There is no faceted geometry like we see on the skull. All right, so let's go ahead and do the same thing to the skull right here. I'm going to click on him. Right, there's our surface shape node. Let's come over to Attribute, RenderMan, Subdiv Scheme. Right. Now, I just want to point this out before I click on it. I just want to do one thing. If I click on Skull right here, and I come over to Attributes, RenderMan, you'll notice that I don't have the Subdiv Scheme option. All right, so you have to make sure you are in the Surface Shape node to even be able to have that option right there, subdiv scheme. So let's turn that on. All right, so we're not seeing it update, right? So let's right-click, Camera, Shot Cam. All right, and you'll see now that our skull and our hat have both had a smoothing applied to them. Right? So now it's time to go ahead and apply our displacement maps. And to do that, we need to go into our hypershade. So I'm just going to move this guy out of the way because the hypershade will take up a lot of space, and come up here. It's this icon right here that kind of looks like an olive, I suppose. I don't know. All right, let's click on that guy. Here we go. All right. So one of the first things I often do when I open up the hypershade is just as a matter of cleanup, sort of, especially if I've been working in Maya throughout the day doing different things. I'm going to come over here to Edit, Delete Unused Nodes. All right. So if you have any nodes in here that are not being used, all right, it's going to delete them just to kind of clean up the scene a little bit. All right. So once we're in the hypershade here, let's go ahead and we'll do the skull first. Let's click on the skull. Tell you what, let's do the hat first. We'll save the best for last, okay? Let's click on the hat right there, All right. So this again is important. Shows kind of the importance of naming your geometry. It certainly helps us up here. If we had 20 or 15 pieces or whatever it was, and they all just said AI surface, it would be a nightmare. All right. So naming your stuff not only is it efficient for you, but as you go into a studio, excuse me, as you go into a studio, you know that will be expected of you. You'll get in trouble if you are found to be, you know, not naming your geometry and doing all that kind of stuff you learned in 3DF. All right. So let's go ahead and click on the hat. And then right here, you'll see this little in out. Right. So let's click on that. And that will give us this. And this is exactly what you should expect to see. And I'm just going to push this back right here. It's the same buttons as you would use inside the Maya interface, right? I'm holding Alt and I am right mouse and dragging. All right, so I can make that a little bit smaller. Middle mouse drag so I can move it up here a bit. All right, just to kind of create some space so you can see what I'm doing. Excuse me. So I'm going to come down here to RenderMan. Click on that. And the node, we need 3 separate nodes. We need to bring out 3 separate RenderMan nodes to be able to hook up our displacement map properly. Right? So the first one we're going to want is the PXR texture. Now, you can come up here and type PXR texture and it'll find it for you. Or you can scroll down and you can kind of see that they are kind of alphabetical. All right? They all start with PXR, but then are ST, and there's PXR texture right there. All right. So that, or like I said, if you came up here and typed in PXRT, it would isolate all of the ones that start with T. And we just need to click on the PXR texture. Now let's bring this over here. And while we have this here, just hit the 3 key, and that will open it up. All right. 1 will close it. 2 will open it part way. 3 will open it all the way up. All right, so go ahead and open that up. We need another couple of nodes here, so let's. I'm going to go ahead and delete that out of there. All right, and you can see right here we're in the RenderMan. I'm going to come down here to where it says Displacements, right? And that's the only one that lives in there, PXR Displace. So we'll just click on that, and that will put this over here. Okay, and now we need one more. And it's right underneath displacements. It says displacement patterns. We'll click on that. And the one that we want is right here, PXR display transform. So let's go ahead and click on that. And we're going to put this guy right between these guys right here. Okay. So I want you to see what I've got. Let's move this up here. Okay. All right. So there's my PXR texture node. There's my PXR displacement transform, this guy that we got right here. Okay. And then here's my PXR displacement node. Okay, so now that we've got these guys, we're ready to hook it up so that we can put our displacement map onto our model. The first thing I'm going to do is click on the PXR texture. Okay, click on him. And then over in the attribute part over here, okay, so you can either work from the Hypershade window, or you can go to the attribute editor in Maya. Either one will give you the same thing. But from here, right, with the PXR texture, I'm going to click on the folder right here, all right, and that will open up my the folder that I have set my project to. And I need to go into my source images folder where I have exported my displacement map from ZBrush. All right. And there's my skull displacement. We'll click on that and open it up. Okay. And that is all you need to do for hooking up that image right there. But now we need to come down here and we need to do a couple of things. So I'm going to scroll in so you can see this. Okay. So now that we've hooked up our texture, all right, our displacement map to the texture node, I'm going to just click on Result G and start to drag this out. And as I drag it towards the displacement transform node, you'll see that some of those things will disappear as I get close here, right? And what I want to hook it to is the displacement scaler. Displacement scaler right there. Okay. So let's move this guy over a little bit. I'm going to come over here. Let's move him over. And we're going to take this guy, this Pixar Displace, right? So right here, we're going to take result F from the Pixar Displace transform and take that over to Displace Scalar. Oops. Oh, there we go. Hooked up into the displacement node right there. Okay. And now here's the part that might get a little confusing for you. What I want you to notice is we have two shading groups. All right. So right here, if we come in and look, you'll see this is a SG, a shading group, and this is also a shading group right here. Now we only need one shading group. Okay. So I'm going to take this displacement shader group right here and delete it. Okay. And then from right here, the displacement node, I'm going to take the out color, take this guy up, and apply him right into the displacement shader right there. Okay. So let's take a look at this so you can see the hookup. Okay. Okay. So the Pixar texture result G comes out into the displacement scalar right there. And the result F of the displacement transform goes into the displacement scalar here. Out color goes into the displacement shader right there. And you don't have to worry about this. That's already hooked up for you. Okay. So once you have that, let's come over here and let's go ahead and just come in here a bit. And let's go ahead and refresh this guy. So let's get rid of that for now. Right click and shot cam right there. And oh, I applied the wrong displacement map to the hat. All right, because I am a dope. All right, so let's go back over here. All right, so it's an easy fix. I'm going to click on the texture right here. Oops. All right, I'm going to click on the texture, and let's come back over here. Right, see, I put the skull on the hat. Okay, so let's just click on this guy. Choose the right one this time, the hat one, and let's open that up. Okay, and then let's come back over here, right click, camera, and shot. And let's see if I manage to get it right this time. There we go. All right. See what happens when you save the best for last? All right. I got a little bit mixed up there. All right. So the hat's looking like it's working. Let's go ahead and do the same thing now for the skull. All right. I'm going to go through this one a little bit faster. All right. So I'm going to click on the skull. Click on the in-out arrow right there. Push that back a little bit. Okay. And we'll go ahead and grab a RenderMan PXR texture right down here. We'll click on him. We'll bring him over. We're going to hit number 3 to open him up. While I've got it here, I may as well go ahead and click on the folder right there. Go into my source images. Grab the skull. Open that guy up. Let's come down here to displacements and grab a displacement node right there. Let's come under the displacements and go to displacement patterns and grab a Pixar displace transform, and we'll put that guy right there. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right, so we already know that we're going to get rid of him. Okay, and let's bring this guy a little bit lower. Let's come in here. Now remember, we're going to grab the result G, go to the displacement scalar. All right, come over here and grab the result F, go to the displacement scalar right there, and then grab the out color and take this to the displacement shader right there. All right, so we've got that all hooked up, and if we come back over here, right click, camera, shot cam. All right, let that resolve itself. There we go. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of detail showing up in that displacement map. In fact, it might even feel, well, it actually feels pretty good. But if you feel like it's a little bit too strong, let's go ahead and take this displacement over here. Actually, maybe we can do it from here. Let me see. Nope. Okay, no, I think that'll be it. I think that's it right there. Let me see. Displace. Now, you can try playing with this gain a little bit to try and, if it feels like it's too strong, all right? But for the most part, when you drop it in there, it should be just fine, all right? And this guy is looking pretty good, all right? We're getting a lot of displacement. Now, remember, look at the difference here, right? This is what you see in the render port with the displacement map that we made in ZBrush and brought this over. You know, it looks like it's got millions of polygons. Now, this is going to take a while. So actually, remember, this is just an IPR. So if you're ready to do your final render, okay, what we can do here is a couple of things. Let's go into our outliner. Let's do this. Well, Windows, outliner. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oops. Sorry, guys. There it is. Okay, got lost. All right, let's grab the model right here, the whole thing. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it. Take my arrow key here. Let's move it over, and let's turn it. Okay, something like that. Maybe even, just for now, let's go into my perspective camera and maybe push this back just a little bit. Okay, something like that. Let's go back up to shot cam, see what we've got. All right, something like that, and let's go ahead and refresh the render. And give it a second. Here we go. Okay. So you would let this just resolve itself. It would, oh, actually, again, this is still the IPR. I keep saying that. When you're ready to do your final render, you're going to come over here to this guy right here and just click on that button right there. All right. And you'll see the difference here. Now when you click on that particular button right there, that guy, now we have something down here that's going to tell us how long it's going to take. We don't get that with the IPR. All right. And also see right here, it's going to give you the name of the file. All right. These are all just called IPRs. But now when we're doing our real render, it's looking at the file name, and you can see we're at 3%. So this is how you would gauge, you know, when your file or when your render is done. Right click. Okay. File, export file is how you save your image. Okay. And you're going to export that out as an EXR and put that into your images folder of your project directory. Images folder. Okay. So when you come in and click on that guy, right there, OpenX half, that's fine. Give it a name. Please put your name on your render. Okay, kind of important. Put your name on your render. Okay, cancel that. So you can see this is at 11%. Now, before we, actually before I even did that, what I should have done is come back over to my render settings right here. And there we are. One last thing we can do before we do a final render is if we come to sampling, okay, and if you come up to presets, load preset, you'll see that we have some options for draft, intermediate, production, production high, and production denoiser. Production high is better than production denoiser. Just because this is last on the list doesn't mean it's better. So as we change these, so you'll notice that our samples and our max samples will change, right? So if I go to draft, that's exactly what that is right there. It's a very low quality render based on the number of samples that we have here. So presets, load preset intermediate, okay? Let's just go through them. Production, 512. All right, production high, 1024. And then if you go to load preset production denoiser, it just goes down even further. So my opinion, right, production high, that's the one you want. That's the one that's going to give you the best quality image. So I would want to come back and re-render this. So just click on this guy right here. All right. And it's going to reset itself and restart its render based on these settings that you set right here. All right. Again, presets, load preset, production high. And then you just need to let that resolve itself right there. Again, file, right click. Again, I'm right clicking, file, export file. Okay. So that is all of that right there. That's the basics of your RenderMan render. It's pretty straightforward. It works pretty nicely. You get really good results. Again, setting the preset to production high will absolutely increase your render time, so be patient. Make sure if you're rendering on your laptop that you are plugged in. Do not be doing this on battery power. And it's probably in your best interest as well to turn off any apps that you may not be using. Okay. So you can see that this has been running now for a minute or so, a minute or two, and we're just now hitting 1%. So this kind of render does take time, and if it's something that you are certainly trying to get a job with, you'll want to give it all the time it needs. Okay. Best of luck with your render. I'm looking forward to seeing them, and if you have any questions, you can always email me. All right. Thank you.